It's that time again!
You've now entered the No Sale Zone.
No Sale Zone.
Where Chris Fresh,
the plumbing sales coach,
peels back the curtain of what sales really is. Buckle up.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. And get ready to learn how to increase ticket average by providing better service. And now, your host,
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
CF,
the plumbing sales coach.
Hey, what's up? We're back live with you. How you doing? Good to see you. It's Monday. And I know a lot of people who don't get excited about Mondays, and I don't know why. You should be excited about Monday because it's that next day to get back out in the field and get back into trade we all so much love. The plumbing trade, baby, and that's the service trade that I love the most. The idea that we're service plumbers matters to me so much, as a lot of you know. Now, before we go too far into this thing, let's say what's up to some people out there who we got watching. My boy Tanner Ringle in the house. Good to see you, brother. He says, fresh. And of course, she says, boom. My wife, April Fresh. Jeremy Robbins says, the beat on the intro is tight. That beat was actually made by a plumber for a plumber, right? Gotta love that. For a plumber, by a plumber. This guy is Renee Cisneros, all the way out of California. And he is just an awesome dude, and he made that beat, and it's sick. I love it. He's great. Just love to see all the different talents that are out there in the fields and the trades. I've traveled all around to all these different shops. Literally been to I think 18 shops or so in the last year and a half. It's been crazy. I've learned probably more than I've taught, to believe it or not. I've learned so much in the process, and so many things that I've learned, I get a chance to share with you guys. Some of the things I probably forget more than I learn. But one thing I've seen, whether you have just a few trucks or you have 15 trucks, 20 trucks, 30 trucks, a couple hundred trucks, it doesn't really matter. One thing is true, and that is service has to be performed. Culture has to be found. Culture has to be developed within the company, and to have the company then overflow onto the community. And that is the recipe for success. That's what we talk about here on this show. Frankie Lamelli says, CF, like always, on fuego. And Austin Sanchez, this was our winner from last week's out of the finalists. He won the $25 gift card, and he's now in the big drawing. We'll talk a little bit about that. Stephen Foster says, Montana is beautiful this time of year. Just saying. Welcome to the program, Stephen. And also welcome to the club. You are now part of the Service Experts Inner Circle. I heard Stephen just jumped on with him and his crew. You guys have 6 technicians, I think, that'll be in the actual training, service technicians. I'm not sure exactly how large that company is, but excited to work with you guys and excited to have you on the show as well. Robert just told me about you, and I'm just pumped about that. I know you've been watching the show for a while as well, so it's just excited to have you on here, finally get a chance to meet you. Jonathan Rock, good to see you as well. Ryan Matthews says, what's up? My guy plumbing, that guy's a stud. He's out there getting it. Young dude too, man. Just a young guy out there getting it. I think he's up there with a bunch of techs as well. And that's one of the things that I get a chance to do. I work with companies that have 20 trucks, 30 trucks, all the way down 5 trucks, 2 trucks, 1 truck, no truck. I work with a lot of different guys in a lot of different scenarios, and one size doesn't fit all. It's not like you can just tell everybody the same answer. And so we're always working through these problems. And I see this same resounding thing, though, that if we don't service our customer, if we don't understand what it truly means to service our customer, we miss the mark. And so many talented technicians out there. I've seen guys like Tanner, who works for Lance Ball at Aspen Mountain Plumbing, who literally could take a leaking toilet call and turn it into a new whatever. And because he has the ability to go through the home and actually diagnose the entire home, and it's really not that hard when you know the right questions to ask the customer, so you know what to aim at. And that's really the difficult thing. If you were to try to go look at the entire plumbing system or try to have the customer's entire conversation with the customer about it, you'd be there for hours. But if you know the right questions and a couple of shortcuts to really get you into the right conversations, then the customer can tell you what they want, what they're concerned about, what they need. And I just gave you a little clue there, the word concern. Then your ability is to solve that, aim at that, and actually hit that. And you can give the customer some options and that kind of thing. But tonight we're talking about the importance, the extreme importance of something we talked about last year. And we're going to talk about that. But tonight, look behind me. We are at IBM as a tribute to tonight's show. We're talking about smart technology. Now, a lot of people last year saw the show when we talked about things like tanklesses and all that stuff. But we also talked about things like Flow by Moen and the facts that customers love on their cell phones, on these things that we all have on their cell phones. They love to absolutely use everything they can on them. I just recently got a watch, a Galaxy watch that ties into my Galaxy phone, and I have the ability to see alerts and messages. My phone's always going off, and so I have this ability to see all these different alerts and messages, and it's really cool, the technology and how it simplifies and makes my life convenient. And when we start talking to the customer, most times, people misunderstand plumbing so much. It's like so many people are in the trade, but it's not their fault. They're limited to just their experience when they ran their company or worked for that one company, or maybe worked for 2 or 3 companies in that one area. But we're limited to our understandings in that way. And I get that. That's totally normal, and that makes sense. I've seen this all across the country with all kinds of things, not just plumbing. And it's relatable to our own personal lives as well, how we get living in a box, in a shelter, and we forget about the bigger surroundings. We forget about the bigger things, the other things. I remember going out to my first job out in Texas and started to hear about the idea of tunneling. And I was like, tunneling? You would die in Indianapolis if you tried to tunnel under a home. That would never work. Or when I went to Florida and I saw the water softeners were buried in the ground, and I was like, what? You guys bury your water softeners? Saw the same thing in Texas and the southern states. You can't put water softeners outside of the home once you get to a certain whatever line, and I'm not very intelligent when it comes to latitude, longitude, whatever one that is, when you get to a certain line here in the U.S. because of the freeze levels. And then there's other things that are just so unique about every other. The freeze levels up in Canada, when I went to Ontario, Canada, was like 4 feet deep, 4.5 feet deep. That's crazy to me, comparative to the 2.5 feet that we see in Indianapolis. And then again, going on down to maybe probably, they can lay it on top of the ground in Florida. And so there's so many different aspects. I get it, to plumbing, earthquake straps out west. So many different aspects to the game, all over the place. And we live in our shelters. We get wrapped in about our boxes. If we forget that there's so much more. And guess what happens in the plumbing world? Our customers are literally in a box when it comes to plumbing. You see, with everything else. Now, I hope you guys pay attention tonight, because I'm going to tell you why it's so important first of all, it's important to recognize why the customer's not calling you up and asking for 3 toilets, why the customer is not calling you up and asking for the tankless softener combination. Why? Because they don't know to. See, with everything else in the world, shoes, they have commercials. First of all, Nike starts out with their commercials. Just do it. Buy our shoes. Is it just the shoes? Blah, 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 blah. Then all of a sudden, Dick's Sporting Goods, if you live in the Midwest, they come out with their commercials. We're selling Nikes. Or all of a sudden, Sears comes out and says, we're selling Nikes. Or JCPenney's comes out, we're selling Nikes. And all these different stores start advertising the Nikes. And what you find is that Nike's getting publicity with their own marketing dollars, and then they're getting some sort of equity share with the branding because other brands are now promoting their brand. And what you find is that customers are now ready. They know they need shoes. They're told they need shoes. Now they're told to get Nikes. So they go looking for the Nikes. And I want you to think about the power behind that. What if they came looking for the tanklesses? What if they don't? Because we don't have, Navien isn't doing commercials. Your local supply shops not doing commercials to your customer, advertising and promoting these brands. Flow by Moens, the smart technology that comes with battery backup systems on sump pumps, the Navi Link, and I can go on and on and on. By the way, there's so much smart technology out there. So much smart technology out there. My boy Brandon's on here. Kemp Powers, good to see you, sir. Steve Cartwright, good to see you as well. Adam Smith, a lot of people just jumping on. He says fresher than fresh. That's Joey Cisneros, always likes to say that, my boy Tanner. But this is so true, and there's a lot of technicians on here. If you're a technician and you've seen time and time again where you offer the customer 3 options, and you literally go through the home and you understand what the customer wants, and they go for the big tickets, and they're excited. Put an amen in the comments. Put in there absolutely every time. Customers are willing to repipe the entire home if it makes sense. Customers are willing to upgrade to just about anything if it makes sense. What does make sense mean? Well, they want it or they need it. It's not that you pushed it on them. It's not that you convinced them to buy it. It's not that you talked them into it. It's not you pressured them into it. It's not that you overwhelmed them. It's that you simply listened, quite honestly. Half the time it's asking just a couple of the right questions and listening. And the customer will tell you what they want or need and the reasons why they want or need it. And then you can identify whether or not the rest of the plumbing system meets up to the rest of that standard. And then from there, you can make your suggestions. But when it comes to smart technology, we just have not done our homework. We just have not taken the time to understand what the technology can do nowadays. You know, most customers tell me the same reasons why they don't want a softener, and I'm hearing the same reasons that they shouldn't have bought a softener from like 1995, but not from 2020. Brandon says, just listen. Larry Marlowe worked with me, HVAC guy, totally gets service. He understood the concept. Tanner says, amen, but got to make sense for them. Absolutely. You know, look, if you're out there working on the sewer line, that's what you're focused on. I get it. And if you're working on the water line, that's what you're focused on. I get it. But it could lead to the drain system on the inside. It could lead to the water system on the inside. If you're working on the toilet, I get it. But you got to consider the fact that the customer's not getting the information from the manufacturer. The customer's not getting the information from the retailers, from the supply shops. Your plumbing company's not advertising this stuff out for the most part. And if you are, you're not. It's not anywhere near the same as when we are told over and over again, Nike, 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 and then we're told by the retailers we sell Nike. It's just not the same. And this is why it's different when we go into these homes. This is why it's such a different situation. He says, if your clients are not asking you for the sale, you're not educating them, listening and engaging them, Brandon says. This is a top producer. This is a guy who gets it. 5-star reviews. He actually is an operations, I believe, manager now, runs a plumbing company. Popular brand down in Texas. You know, look, I could introduce you to plumbing company owner after plumbing company owner with a lot of success. I've got a guy right now that I could think of, 24 trucks in the program that I'm working with. And this guy, totally sharp, been in the service game for a long time, wants his technicians to understand the concept. He understands that they're not going to listen to him because they don't listen to dad, right? No one ever listens to dad. But they will listen to someone who's been there, done that, been in the field maybe, who's actually been on the other end of the phone call when the customer complains, who can go out in the field still today, right now, and get out in the field and still diagnose and do all the things that we got to do to help the customer understand what they're purchasing. Yeah, they might actually listen to that. And I'm telling you right now, the ones that do, the guys like Tanner will tell you firsthand, hey, swallow your pride, listen to what I might have to say, and if you can apply it, I'm just the book. You guys are the ones that have to read it and apply it. You get all the credit. You need to actually do it, though. That's the thing. Get the information and go apply it, because when you do and you take customers through this process, take all the gimmicks away, take all the closing tactics away, take all the pressure away, take all the sales lines away, and just simply learn how to ask the right questions, simply understand what the customer's going through. Yeah, I was just on a coaching call, it was today or yesterday. It was today. And we were talking about this idea of, he had said, you know, I mentioned sympathy and empathy and how that really affected him. And it's really important to understand that concept when you're dealing with a customer, because there's a difference between feeling sorry for someone and trying to put a Band-Aid on it and actually empathizing them and coming from their point of view. Here's something I'm going to enlighten you on. A toilet's a heck of a lot cheaper to replace than it is to repair over and over once it hits a certain age, once it hits a certain condition. The water pressure of the home, the water condition of the home will alter that timeline. But eventually age catches up with all things, because unless it was made by God, it straight up deteriorates as soon as it is made. And the reality of that is when it starts getting deteriorated and it starts to break down, yeah, I get it, porcelain lasts forever, but as you keep replacing these parts and you keep repairing these things, the value that the customer gets just isn't really there. And if we're lucky and this toilet continues to malfunction and fail internally and not externally, and let me define that for some of you that are not in the plumbing field, what that might mean. Internally means you might have a high water bill. Internally means you might have an annoying situation. Externally means you may have $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 worth of water damage, or more, or less, or more. Serious. I've seen it too many times. If you've seen it, let me know. What's one of the worst situations you've ever seen? Or what's the most amount of damage that you've heard of? You can guesstimate. I get it. We're not mitigators. We're not mitigators. I'd love to know from you guys. You know, I don't want to be the don't let me make it up. What's the worst you've ever seen in mitigation? What's the worst you've ever come across? What do you think? You know, $10,000 worth of damage? Was it a cabinet? Was it a wood floor? What was it that failed? What happened there? Share with the world. Remember, comment of the night. By the way, for those watching, we're doing a giveaway. got a little bit of house cleaning to do. We're doing a giveaway. We're giving away money. Austin Sanchez won about $50 in a shirt last Thursday. Now he's in the grand prize drawing for $200 here in a couple weeks. For those that want to get a chance to get in that drawing and also get your own shot at $25, then all you got to do is have the comment of the night. We pick the comment of the night. You're the winner of the night. You don't win anything that night, but what that does is you and 3 other people this week will be entered into that drawing, and on Thursday we'll do the drawing. We'll do the giveaway. It'll be a $25 Visa gift card on Thursday. The winner on Thursday will get that. Then from there, that guy, along with Austin and probably 2 other people, will eventually be in this grand prize giveaway, which is coming up in a couple weeks, for $200. So basically, have comment of the night. I used to say get comment of the night, you win $225. But now if Austin is the one that actually wins it, he'll end up with like $250 in a t-shirt because he kind of snuck in the first time. Brandon said, man, I want a shirt. Jody he says, I want a shirt. Sarah says, such helpful info from a homeowner. Thank you, CF. You're welcome. Angel Blevins, good to see you. Toss Graham in the house. Brandon Graham, the brothers. Both killers in the game. They understand the idea of service over sales every time. So that's the gift card giveaway we're doing. Comment of the night. Give us the value. Again, I'm asking you guys, what's the biggest worst? 32 million, Brandon said. I just threw up in my mouth. And Toss said, I was there for it. It's a true story. And Brandon's the first one to brag about the biggest and worst situation that he's been in, but he will not lie. Dude straight up met him, been with him, hung out with him. 2 days, Vegas, never forget it. It's almost like the movie Hangover. I'm not even joking. I wish I was. Crazy stuff. You don't see me even laughing yet. Most people are like, that's funny. See, I'm just like, no, really, that's what happened. And then watch, that's where Brandon gets on there. I was there for it. True story. I promise it's coming. just the googly eyes. I love it. I love you guys, man. Getting out there, meeting you guys, getting a chance to see you guys and seeing how you guys do your thing. It's really cool. Brandon said 4 days. Yeah, I have PTSD, brother. I only remember 2 of them. And I don't drink. Brandon will attest to that too. I was sober the whole time. Straight up. That's how I roll. All right, so watch this. Here's the thing. 160. I think he's saying 16,000. 16,000 or 160,000. That's a lot of money. And we're talking about water loss, water damage, because something simple probably. Refrigerator lines taking out hardwood floors. A little free, just unnecessary because customers don't realize. Look, if I'm a customer and you're going to come into my home and you're going to tell me I can have hot water for $500 or I can have hot water for $1,500 or I can have hot water for $65, I'm going to take the $500 option. And for those that are going, what does that mean? What does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. You don't build any value in what you're offering. They have no idea what they're buying. And so, of course, they're not going to spend. But who would? I need to get to work. You need to buy a car. Okay, what's that cost? Well, you can get one for $500. You can get one for $10,000. You can get one for $100 million. Well, $500. I'll just go with the $500 one. Is there something I should know about that? My boy, Jeremy. I love that. That's absolutely true. Take that Black Friday deal into their home. You have to. You have to be prepared to charge what you're worth on option 1. Give them the solution that they ask for every single time. But option 2 should be a problem that doesn't just solve it for today, but it solves it for tomorrow. It solves it a little bit longer. Look, if you're looking at one 25-year-old toilet, just ask how old the other toilet is. The customer will then most likely go, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. It's 25 years old. I've heard customers literally say something like that. I'll say, do you want me asking how old your other toilet is? And they'll go, oh, I guess you're right. And I'm like, I'm right. I didn't actually say anything. I just asked a question. I didn't make a statement right there. But like I've said before, and I'll say it a million times, and for those that have been in my program and you're successful and you're probably laughing, you're loving life because you're probably going on less calls, you're making a whole lot more money. And the reality is you're helping people actually solve their problems for a lot longer. You're not just handing them medicine from the big pharma. You're doing surgery and fixing the solution or fixing the problem, solving the real issue. That's what you got to do. And so when you look at it from that perspective, then what happens is you end up finding yourself compelled to ask questions and to find out what's going on. So when you say something as simple as, hey, how old's your other toilet? They're going to go, oh, don't worry about the other toilet. That might be the answer. Again, you asked the question, how old's the other toilet? They may never actually answer that particular question with an age. They may answer it with a statement of recognition. There is no better salesman in the home. There is no better salesman, not on this planet, in the home, than the homeowner is to themselves. Do you understand that? We can sell ourselves anything. We can convince ourselves of anything. In fact, I could turn the news on right now and I can see groups of people who have convinced themselves of just about anything. And you can try to figure out what I mean by that, but it doesn't really matter what channel. It doesn't really matter what news station. It doesn't really matter what group. They have sold themselves on something. They've sold, for those that follow me, I don't follow people, I follow Christ. That's a decision I made in my own personal life years ago. And as the scriptures would say, for me and my family, we follow the Lord. And that's just how I live my life. That's going to alter my perspective. That's going to alter the way that I go about things. And for that reason alone, I feel like we have the duty to serve our customer, to take care of them. It's just a reaction to the reality. It's more than it is a way of like this certain style of sales or this certain style of teaching. It's not really about that. It's more about this idea that it's just the reality of life. Like it's the way, look, if I'm a professional plumber and I walk into someone's home and I know they want me just to put a Band-Aid fix on this toilet and I'm looking at the rest of the plumbing, it's just failing. And I don't have the difficult conversation with them. Who's really doing any service? Like who's really taking care of this customer? And the idea that you're not able to learn how to do this stuff is foolishness. We're all created intelligently designed individuals, wonderfully and purposely made, as I've heard so many people say. We are intelligently designed. We are literally able to do this stuff, okay? It just requires the right programming, and sometimes the wrong people are doing the wrong things. The wrong talents and gifts are in the wrong fields. It's gonna happen. Yeah, you find good people with good character, with integrity, as my boy right there says, integrity is the key. Yeah, 100%, baby. Teach them how to plumb. It's not that hard. My man, fresher than fresh. Repair, replace, upgrade. Stephen Foster. He's got it. He's been listening to the podcast. Look, guys, this is so, it's because if what happens is the customer finds out about the Flow by Moen. They're on their third slab leak. They just got their house repiped because of the, what do you say, $32 billion or $32 million. Excuse me. I don't have it. $32 million situation. Sorry, I shouldn't make light of that. But I do have allergies real bad. And I'm always like, every time I sneeze or cough in public, I feel like I feel like I should turn myself in. So anyways, he says, you have to bring it up. Tanner says, you're the professional. People don't have a plumber in their house that often. That's 100%. I added a word there, but they don't. And that was the point I was going to make. And if you know this stuff, you can't just ignore this stuff. You can't. You cannot do it. Doesn't matter how difficult the conversation is. Doesn't matter how much you don't want to say it. Doesn't matter how much you don't want to do the work. Jody laughs. Larry says, any water seeping inside walls rather than leaking plumbing fixture or a plugged AC condensed line is a lot of damage and has been done before any signs of damage is ever seen. Hey, look, I want to make a point. Larry's been in the HVAC field for a while. I want you guys to hear something. HVAC produces, they have a condensate line, as you guys know, that just a little drain line. And those little things can cause a lot of problems for a lot of homeowners, man. Those little guys, one of the smallest drains in the entire home, they can cause some of the most damage. And these units, you don't be limited in where some of these units are in attics in some parts of the country. Some of these units are different places. That's one thing I've learned. I've seen in Colorado, I've seen water heaters in crawl spaces. Like they think that, like someone came up with that idea in the early 20s and was like, we're going to do it in all the homes. And then they did. And then over in like other parts of the country, it's like, let's throw them up in the attic. They're like trying to mount them to the roof. Like there's just so many different things going on all across the country. So when you hear these stories and you go, oh, that's impossible. Ours are always located. Hey, it's not the case everywhere. And so the reality is that homeowners are dealing with this. Trust me, they are dealing with this, man. It is a problem. This goes back to my doctor reference. Dig deeper for the fact to be a professional is successful diagnosis, 100%. You know, if you've been watching this long enough, in fact, a year and a half ago, I remember one episode we were talking about the idea of literally me going in one time for, I don't like going to the doctor. I don't go to the doctor very often. I don't know if this is a confession or what this is, but I don't go very often. And when I do go, it's because my wife is literally making me. But I go, and when I do, it doesn't matter what I go for. It does not matter what I go for. It's the same process. It doesn't. In fact, one time I went in for a heart attack. And here's the thing: if I go in there and I'm like, "Look, my knee hurts," and they're like, "Here's a clipboard. Go fill this out," totally makes sense to me. I get that. Like, I'm on board with that. In fact, I champion that. You probably want to know who I am, what I'm about, how I can pay for this. Get that too. I teach a show, get paid. When you do the work, I'm all about it. But when I go in there and I have a heart attack, or I think I'm having a heart attack, don't hand me a clipboard. This is not the time for a clipboard. And that is exactly what happened to me. It was like 1 a.m. in the morning, and I'm driving, and I took myself to the hospital. We have 6 kids at the time. We have 8 now. 6 kids at the time, and I'm thinking I'm going to die. And I get there and they hand me a clipboard. And I'm thinking, I don't think you guys know how to do your job, but I filled the paperwork out because I wanted to get seen. So I went through the process with them, and it's really long story. Long story short, they went through a lot of things. They took my height, my weight, my blood pressure, my heartbeat, just like they would with anything else. But they found I had acid reflux, really more of a dietary issue. And just kind of getting older, I think. It was more of like, they diagnosed me with being 33, I think is what they said. Like, you're 33 now, grow up. So anyways, that was what it was. You can't eat Funyuns. You can't eat dry ramen noodles in the middle of the night. So that's what that was. But I thought I was having a heart attack. Now, what if they had just ripped me open and put a new heart in? That would be foolish. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. I thought I did. In fact, I can't tell you the things I was thinking when they handed me the clipboard. I'm not going to say I judged her particularly, but I definitely didn't have a strong opinion of her. I did not feel like she was qualified to participate in this particular place of business. I'm no longer 33. I'm 44 now, Sarah. This was 11 years ago. I know. It's hurtful. Anyways, like I said, told the story a year and a half ago because it took me a long time to confess that. Here's the point, though. Customers don't know. They don't know their body. They don't know their home. They don't know their plumbing. I can't tell you how many plumbers, like 102% of every plumber I talk to, 11 out of 10 plumbers I talk to, they literally tell me they're the best plumber that's ever walked the face of the earth. And there's never been a better plumber. They were born in the crawl space. Their uncle and their brother and their dad all plumbed. In fact, they remember right before they were born carrying plumbing tools from the truck over to the crawl space, right before they were born. And it's just like every single one of them, but yet we don't want to take all that amazing wisdom and share it with our customer. You don't look a day over 35, this guy. I love you, bro. Comment of the night, baby. I'm just saying. Look, guys, this is so important because what happens is we go in the home, we start assuming stuff, we think we know better, we think we know everything we know. I'm going to tell you, who the worst salesman in the world is a broke fix plumber. And I don't mean they're not good at it. I mean, they're scam artists. I mean, they're literally ripping people off dollar for dollar. I can do the math with you if you like. It's just math, not opinion. You can do the math. Sell someone a $200. For all you consumers, you tell me, consumer. For all you consumers watching the show right now, you tell me what sounds like a better bang for your buck. You ready? You can spend typically on average $200 to $300 for a plumber to come in, and quite honestly, it's worth it. I'm not doubting that. It's 100% worth it. So if you get a repair on your toilet, this is worth it. If they tell you $200, $300 for a minor repair, for a fill valve or a flush valve or maybe a combo, that's worth it. But would you rather do that? What you're actually getting is knowledge and experience. That's what you're getting for your money right there, because the part itself is only $20 and the labor involved is usually 45 minutes to an hour. Now, would you rather spend your money on that? Or would you rather spend $600 and upgrade your 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old, even your 5-year-old cheap toilet to a really nice toilet made by Toto? Something that can be sold to you from anywhere from $550 to $650, maybe even $700 installed after tax. And that is a Toto Entrada. That is a toilet that is completely, most likely upgraded and superior to the toilet you have in your home right now. It's got a 3-inch flush valve, which just simply means you don't have to use as much water to flush it. And you're going to save a little bit of money on your water bill. It's also got a 2-inch flush valve, so the grandkids and the kids and everyone else can't clog that thing up. And the other cool thing about it is it comes in a comfort height situation, which means Just a little bit taller for those with a bad back, or maybe a little bit taller. For us short people, I don't know yet. I don't like my legs to swing. So you tell me what's a better deal for your money, because now you're getting $200 in parts and labor. I'm sorry, $200 in parts and equipment and things like that in an hour of the technician's time, maybe an hour and a half, versus 45 minutes and $20 in parts for twice the money. You tell me what is a better deal for you. Okay, there's Sarah. She is not a plumber. That's 100% accurate. Much better to upgrade. It would just make sense. Of course it would. Every customer I talk to says that. Look. Yeah, should Tanner? So I don't know who asked. Casey, my boy Casey says, should people learn their plumbing and other utilities before buying the home when they first move in? Absolutely. It's a great idea to have a plumber you trust come in, take a look at things. It's easier to take care of it all right then before that you have to call them because you have a leak. Just remember, when people are selling homes, a lot of the times, just like when you trade a car in, it was starting to annoy you a little bit. Dang, Fresh just sold me a Toto. Let's get this scheduled. Upgrade, he says. Derek says, upgrade, of course. I hate when I can't reach the floor, Jenny says. Hey, look, I'm with you, Jenny. We have so much in common. Hey, look, this is important because you got to grasp this stuff. This is the reality. These are the real conversations in the home if you're having the right conversations in the home. Most of you are talking about, well, $600, well, and then the customer's like, what? Why is it so much? And we're not talking about that on here. No one's talking about that on here. Yes, Jenny says she's talked to a lot of ladies that have lost their husbands. This is service. Everything's service. Service over sales. It's not always about the money. In fact, it's never about the money. But here is the thing about that money. I will tell you this. A lot of us in this trade, in fact, all of us, we're in a for-profit business, okay? And that's okay. And that's a great thing. In fact, that's a beautiful thing. And here's how that works. That business needs money. It's oxygen, literally oxygen. It's got to be profitable money. That's what makes it oxygen that's breathable, meaning not thin oxygen like you're on top of Mount Rushmore. Doesn't do any good to make $1 million and only $10,000 left over. Okay, that won't last very long and that won't be very fun. That'll actually be a lot of luck to actually still want. So the reality here is that you need the money, okay? And people come to work for the money, okay? If you don't believe me, come in for free then. I'm sure every owner on here would be like, yeah, come in for free. He says, depends on the client. Some might just rebuild toilet and acid wash the ports because of money issues. Hey, look, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm good with that, Ross. I'm totally good with that. Here's the thing, though, as long as they're deciding that. It's my only recommendation, my only request is that they get to make that decision. I don't decide for them. Ross has been watching the show for a long time, so I'm assuming he is on board with that, obviously. But it's for anyone new watching the show or someone catching the show later, for those that listen to the podcast, for all of you that watch the show, we're going over. We're about to end, I promise. Sorry about that. Just get subscribed to the show. Type subscribe into the comments, and you will get a message from Messenger. When you get that message, respond to it, and that'll finish the process. You will be subscribed to the show. You'll just simply get alerts letting you know when we go live. That's it. We don't sell you nothing. We don't offer you nothing. We don't try to talk to you. In fact, if you try to talk to us, I think you'll get a bot response, a robot response. So basically just send in subscribe. If you want the ebook is going to tell you the 3 lies that the world, that everyone is trying to tell you in the plumbing game for some reason that is literally keeping you for the profits. Listen, you don't need more calls. You just need to do more with them. You don't need better guys. You just need to make your guys better. And you definitely don't need better customers. You just need to treat your customers better. That's the reality of how it all works. And the ebook covers all that. Plus, it links you back to other shows and cool things that you got to know, because it will literally teach you, not just hype up my products. It will teach you what you need to know about that. And that's the cool thing about that. Type ebook in the comments. Again, you got to respond to that Facebook Messenger, and then you'll get your ebook. If you're listening to the podcast, type www.theplumbingsalescoach.com/ebook, and you will get that ebook. All right, I am out of breath. My goodness. We've got more. All right, we got to do the comment of the night. We got so many comments and I have so much to pick from. Never make the decisions for the customer. You educate them and let them decide that's 100% right. That would be like telling all the kids what the answers are and then taking the test for them and then wondering why they didn't learn anything. And that is the reality of how this goes. It is life, relationships. Guess what? We learn them when we're 2 years, 1 year. I've got 8 kids. Let me tell you something. They're not all salesmen by what most people's standards are, but they can all sell. Okay? They can all sell in their own little crafty ways. They feel like people say, what are the kids doing when they're not around? Like conspiring. That's what they're doing. They're plotting, scheming. Anyways, Jeremy says, find out what they value. You got to find out what they value. The customer is only going to spend money on what they value. The customer is only going to spend money on what they understand. Confused mind is a no. That's what Russell Brunson always says. Everyone listen to my uncle because he's literally the smartest man I know. I'll be waiting for my shirt. Sarah doesn't know very many people. But thank you. I love you. You're the best. Such a sweetheart. Offer what can get the customers their, he says, their day back in motion and give the value they make sense. Absolutely. I say, look, they woke up and the plumbing train of life just derailed them. Your job is to pick them up, dust them off, pick them back on the tracks of life and get them going back to their next destination. That's your job. It's your job. It's to make sure that train lasts too, though, when you do it. Okay, guys, look, we're going to do comment of the night. Let's do this. What do we got? Do we have one? Do we have one?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, we're going to do it. We're going to go, you want me to do a countdown? Okay, this is how this works. Comment of the night. First of all, type dominate right now in the comments. Type dominate. You need to type dominate in the comments if you want to learn more about training products. Tons of companies jumping on. Literally, here's the cool thing about our training products. I have a lot of training. We do a lot of training with your techs, CSRs, with your owners. We have all kinds of different things. Really cool stuff. But bottom line is you get access to one another, which I think is really the most underutilized, not utilized enough. Should be utilized more. Yeah, as I said, okay. Yeah, that's how that should go. And I think that's where you guys can actually learn peer-to-peer. When you see someone else try something that I've taught and it works, it sure does make it easier to cross that bridge. Same with your techs. And that's something important to understand. They never listen to dad. But they'll listen to their uncle. I could be their uncle. I'm probably old enough. All right, anyways, let's talk about what the comment of the night is. We're going to do it. You guys ready? Okay, if you win the comment of the night tonight, you haven't actually won any cash money yet, but you get entered into the drawing for Thursday. You need to come back to Thursday's show, and on Thursday, we'll do a drawing with you and the other 3 winners from this week. Those winners, whoever wins that, will win a $25 Visa gift card that will be sent to you through email as long as you send in your email address. And then you'll be linked up with our other winner, Austin Sanchez, along with 2 other future winners in the next coming weeks. And you guys will be entered into the 4-person spinoff for the $200 Visa gift card. Nowhere else do I know. You watch a show and comment and win $225. I just don't know of one. All right, so let's talk about who this is. He says, I'm just a commercial service journeyman working for someone else. Ross, you're smart. You're definitely smart. All right, here we go. Be the doctor. Brandon Redmond is our winner of the comment of the night. He says, be the doctor. How's a doctor's visit go for you? How do they find out what's really wrong with you? Do you, as the patient, actually tell the doctor everything? No, you do not. Sometimes the doc has to dig a little more. I can tell you some crazy stories about family members who have liked to tell the doctors things that were true and accurate, and also things that were inaccurate. They would like to mislead them on things, and they would just like to absolutely omit other things. And so that is a reality. As my brother hops on here, he probably thinks I'm talking about him. End of the day, it's about the customer. Customer happy? I'm happy. Well said, Ross. Guys, listen, I love you. I really do. That's why we do this show. Make sure you guys get up on the shows, get subscribed, get the ebook. It's free. Get also subscribed and follow the page. We do tons of little videos. We pop stuff up. I don't know what we do. My producer does most of it. He gets all the credit. I love him. I got a great team. I do nothing, guys. I really don't anymore. I am just useless. They tell me where to stand and what to say. I love you guys. Hey, remember, as always, serve your communities and everything, not just plumbing. Have a great night.